TacoCast. I'm Crystal,
I'm Will.
and you're the audience.
Welcome. So today's topic is
Today's topic is a little less light, significantly less lighthearted. Today's topic was selected by me because this is something that I've been discussing, thinking about, dealing with since I heard of it, and I felt like it would be an appropriate topic because of my feelings to bring up. My feeling is that it's something we all need to talk about. As distressing as it is to me, I feel like we as citizens of the United States need to discuss this. Recently in Colorado, a 4-year-old boy died of the flu after his mother solicited alternative treatments from a prominent anti-vax Facebook group as opposed to treating him or treating anyone in her family for the flu that had already been diagnosed. A little bit of background: 2 children in the family had already been diagnosed with the flu, and a provider had prescribed Tamiflu, which a lot of people, not just anti-vaxxers, opt not to use Tamiflu because they feel the risk-benefit assessment comes out as a null. We're not going to address that here because it's not terribly pertinent. The child that died, she didn't know whether or not he had the flu. They found out after he had died that he had, but the other 2 children had. He got ill, he started having seizures, and he did eventually die because Facebook groups aren't where you go to get your kids treated.
surprise, surprise.
As my issue with this is, as a parent, letting your child suffer through a medical illness. Going to Facebook to ask how to treat a medical illness, I can't. When you have she had a doctor. You had a doctor. You already took 2 kids to the doctor.
So that definitely needs to be noted in this circumstance. What took place? It wasn't because of religious, beliefs that she didn't believe in medical, intervention or anything else. It was more that she believed that the vaccines and also the Tamiflu, the medication, was harmful. So it wasn't because she was Jehovah's Witness or any other religion out there that may, have beliefs that against Western medicine. So
yeah, just thought vaccine equals bad, and that a prominent Facebook anti-vax group would be the appropriate place to go to take care of her child. So the reason I struggle with this is, as I said, as a parent, the idea that my kid would be suffering that much and that I would not do everything in my power to make that better for them hurts me. But as a citizen, where is the line at? What is okay and what isn't? My general philosophy as a citizen is, as long as everybody is an adult in full possession of their faculties and what you're doing doesn't have an impact on anybody else, I don't care what you do. And that might be rather harsh to say, but I feel like individuals are allowed to make their own decisions, even if those decisions are really, really bad, so long as those decisions aren't impacting anybody else. That being said, our children in this country are citizens, and they're not the ones making these decisions. But parents are allowed freedom. And every single parent on the entire earth has made bad decisions regarding their kid. And I like to think we've made them in our kids' best interest. Sometimes you find out right after you've done it, sometimes you find out years down the road, but we've all made a decision we felt was in our kids' best interest, and then after the fact we're like, ooh, that was a bad decision. That was bad.
Children shouldn't take ukulele lessons, by the way. It's a bad decision. You'll regret it later on. Nobody is used to ukulele after elementary school.
Actually, I think that guy from 21 Pilots.
Oh yeah, there's one. See, there's always that one.
Anyway, we've all made bad decisions as parents in our child's best interest. But in this case, was that decision really made in your child's best interest? Who goes to a Facebook echo chamber if they're not just seeking validation? My online life has led me to the conclusion that a lot of anti-vaxxers are performance parents. They have to make absolutely certain that you know that they're an anti-vaxxer, and that they're an anti-vaxxer. You will definitely find the word sheeple. That'll come up like a lot. It was clever the first time I heard it when I was 16, and a buddy of mine who was just recently enlisted used the word. I thought that was hilarious. I'm now over 40. It's not funny anymore. I need a new word. I need something. I don't like it. I don't like repetition. Mix it up. Anyways, the word bothers me. I've heard it all the time. But I do personally know a couple of people who are opposed to vaccinations. In their personal interactions, they're not like that. They're understated. They're quiet. Their anti-vax stance is, as Will pointed out, religious in nature, and it's not a personality trait for them. Whereas the people that you have a tendency to meet in online spaces, it's their driving personality trait. So it's a struggle also to remind myself when thinking about these things that the people that you meet online are not necessarily representative of that group of people as a whole. And I do admit that a large portion of my reaction to this news is very visceral. It's felt. It's not necessarily an intellectual reaction. It is an emotional reaction of, oh my, how could you let that happen to your child? Intellectually, as a society, as citizens, do we let that happen? Do we stop it?
Okay. At what point, though, obviously, everybody has the right to raise their children in the best way that they see fit, though. In what circumstances, then, should the government step in and say, look, what you're doing is clearly neglectful to the well-being of your child? At what point should they?
Yeah. I typically try to avoid slippery slope arguments because I feel that they are often disingenuous, but I think in this case, in cases like this, when it comes to medical...
So a case-by-case basis, then?
Well, I think when it comes to anti-vaxxers, the slippery slope argument is relevant, because what is medical neglect is going to vary from case to case, and I don't think that there can be a unilateral decision. If a 16-year-old decides that they don't want to do chemo and their parent says okay, as much as that hurts me as a parent, as much as I know intellectually that a 16-year-old does not have a developed prefrontal cortex and is not in the best position to be making gigantic life decisions, it is still at 16. For a lot of children, they are in a good position to make that decision. My point is, it is a case-to-case basis. Some kids at 16 are dumb as.
So back to my question is, at what point does the government step in and say, look, all right, what you're doing obviously is neglect, it's harmful to the child. Because I look at it from the case of our son. Do I want my son going to school with other children who have, where their parents may have decided, not necessarily for religious reasons, and there are a lot of lazy ass parents out there, and there are stories, that have been all over the internet and all over the news about the parents who was it in Idaho that let their children starve to death because they were, and they, one of them died because of they just forgot to feed them and forgot to get them their shots and everything else because they were playing World of Warcraft, an online game.
I don't think that case was in Idaho. Idaho was the that religious sect that had a lot of child deaths.
But same thing though. I mean, it wasn't because of religious reasons why they didn't get the vaccines for their children. They were just lazy, and there are parents out there right now where they just haven't gotten their children their shots. Do we want those children going to school with our kid? And with the global, travel in the way, we're seeing it right now with the Kung flu virus.
Coronavirus.
Yeah, the coronavirus. My daughter calls it the Kung flu. But with that traveling around the world and how easily it's spread because of mass, the way people travel and they go in and out of, all over the world, we could see something like this pop up where someone is in one province in China, they catch something, they get on an international flight, they land in Seattle, they then contact somebody else like you then go contact somebody else, somewhere else, and before they know it, there's a child who gets it and then ends up at our school, where that vaccine could have stopped that. Do we want those children ending up in our school with our son?
That's another one that I struggle with. Ultimately, life is risky. I could walk outside. I could go across the street to go catch the cat because he's out, trying to get food from the neighbors again, and get hit by that guy who decides that speed limits are for other people.
Which one? A lot of them in our neighborhood.
Life is risky. A part of society's job is mitigating risk for citizens. But at what point are we mitigating risk at the expense of citizens? Where is our responsibility as a citizen to our fellow citizens? Children are citizens. Where's our responsibility to them? The case you were mentioning where they medically neglected their child because they were too busy playing video games, those people went to jail. So why did they go to jail for medically neglecting their child when somebody else medically neglects their child? The outcome is the same. The child was medically neglected and the child died. But we're measuring intent. And while I do think intent is very important, if your intent is to performance parent, I'm an anti-vaxxer, right. I'm so awesome. Isn't that worse? You made a conscious decision to harm your kid.
Well, I don't know necessarily say. I don't think they think that they're necessarily, harming their child. I think that, if, from their perspective, as warped as it is, they think that they're making the right decision, for their child medically, but they have issues with, modern medicine, Western medicine, and vaccines because of misinformation that has been spread across the internet. And in particular with the group where this lady went to, she went to a very prominent, we're not going to mention the name of this group, on Facebook. And according to what my monitor right here says, is they have well over 178,000 members in this group, and who all have obviously warped views medically on the misinformation that's being spread out there.
They told the mother when she asked for advice, to put potatoes in his socks, and I think like cucumbers on his head or something. I don't know, something about
Yeah.
Basically, she seasoned him like a freaking salad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As a parent, I'm so angry. I'm so mad as a parent. And sad, and
But at the same time, this mother took her child to the doctor. And she obviously believed in medicine to the point where she's like, okay, the doctor here knows what's right and what's best for my child. She took the child to the doctor. The doctor said, your child has the flu. You need to give this child Tamiflu. So, and then she said, okay. And she went home, and then she said, well, screw what they have to say. I'm going to listen to a group that has a narrative and a total, view of everything in a completely separate direction. And she took their advice. Potatoes in the socks, cucumbers on the head. This was going to somehow, medically treat the child besides turning them into a salad. And so obviously she had the forethought and the knowledge to take the child to a doctor, an actual medical doctor, and then said, forget it. These people who are not doctors obviously have a better understanding of what needs to take place with my child. I'm going to take their advice. And to me, and a lot of, and just like so with the parent who may have religious exemptions to say, okay, I don't believe in vaccines, as warped and as wrong as that is, I have to somehow say, okay, they understand that there is risks that are involved there, and at the same time, where they may not believe religiously in medicine, Western medicine. The parent who then takes their child to a doctor, and then the doctor says, this is what needs to happen with your child medically. Otherwise, the child is going to get worse and potentially die. I think that parent is even worse than the parent who has a religious exemption, who will not go to the doctor at all. I think the parent who goes and says, what, here's the best advice. I mean, it's like, you take your car to the mechanic, and the mechanic says, don't drive this car in even another block, because those tires are all going to blow up on you, and you're going to lose control, and you're going to crash and die. And then you say, well, screw you, I don't care. I saw on Facebook that all I need is to put some duct tape on this, and I can drive it for as long as I want. That is just foolish. And
I think it's lavender oil for tires.
I heard about that in eucalyptus oil. Yeah. That works the best on tires. But I think the parent who actually goes to the doctor, and the doctor says this is what you need to do for your child, and then they look the other direction. I think that's even worse. That's my view, though.
One has to wonder why you would even go to a provider if you weren't going to listen to them.
I know, right?
I mean, I find it so upsetting, but it is something that I continue to struggle with. Is where is the end of our responsibility as citizens? What is the line between our responsibility to our citizens that can't make those decisions for themselves? Because, like I said, if you're an adult in full possession of your faculties, do whatever you feel like doing as long as you're not hurting somebody else. But this decision hurt somebody else.
Yeah.
She killed a child.
Her own.
That was dependent on her.
Mm-hmm.
These babies can't make those decisions. So, but again, as much as it hurts me as a parent, as much as I don't know that I would associate with somebody who I don't think that I would. I don't think I'd be able to, and I don't think I'd be able to be civil about it. But as a citizen, are we obligated to do something? Or is our obligation to err on the side of the parent?
Well, I think we should pose it as a question to everybody out there watching.
What is the obligation of society to our underage citizens? Do we err on the side of the child? Or do we err on the side of the parent?
And where does religion play into it?
Should it at all?
Yeah.
Should we look at outcomes or should we look at intent?
I think that's a good place to end it right there. Well,
Sorry for such a downer. We'll be more fun next time.
We'll try. We're not sure though. Thank you everyone for joining us again today. And don't forget to like, share, comment down below. We would want to hear from each and every one of you. Don't worry about how anybody else is going to view your opinion. Just comment below, and we want to hear from you. Thank you again.